This is live.
And we are live.
I was waiting for Louis to say something.
Yeah,
Me
welcome back,
too.
everyone.
I heard
Yeah,
Louis is running this, but
I'm
just
running
here
it.
of courtesy so that he doesn't feel all by himself.
Yeah, so it doesn't sound too much like a monologue. So more conference news, which seems to be the trend in these live meetings recently. So since last time we've had Devox and Devox Morocco happen, um, which were pretty interesting and completely different at the same time. So at Devox Belgium, Alex and I did a caching 101 session, like a 3 hour session, well, actually 2 hours and a half if you look at the time on the video on YouTube. So that was an interesting experience. And I think we got positive feedback during the week on what we delivered, so that's cool. As usual, lots of basic stuff. We tried also to cover a bit more the advanced stuff. We know of improvements we would like to make if we have the opportunity to redo that in order to cover more of the gotchas that you have when you implement caching, advanced caching patterns and stuff. But yeah, I guess positive on my side. Chris did something on off-heap store also during Devox, on off-heap, sorry. So if you're interested to understand more about off-heap and how you could use it, that's a
Directly.
very good introduction, which is available on YouTube
The
as
best one
all
there
the
is.
as all the Devox Belgium videos are. So that's cool. Anything else that you guys want to say on that event?
Nope. That very good beer.
Yep. Yeah, so we also had a booth.
I heard.
Chronic shortage of IPAs, but
we also had a booth at the conference, so we got to meet a number of people. So that was cool also. Got us some insights on
Yep.
use cases. Some weird, but as expected, sometimes when you don't have the full picture of enterprise systems and you get only to see small bits of it or hear about small bits of it, it's sometimes surprising what teams end up having to do. Then Devox Morocco, where I was the only one present from the team. I did a session on GSR 107 and Ehcache 3. Completely different crowd there. So obviously people from Morocco, although there were quite a large number of nationality represented, attendees were, I think, mostly from the North Africa, which is a crowd you usually don't see at other conferences. And I just got the bug in my mouth. Great. And so when he's looking, you see how you get Alex's attention. You just say crazy stuff, but it's true. So, so that was interesting because it's younger crowd, more diverse. By that I mean many more women than the usual numbers you see in European and US conferences. And also you realize that like the I don't know, Ehcache is not as well known, the links between Ehcache to Rakata and everything. So I refocused a little bit the presentation on GSR 107 to really give them a taste of the standard and knowing what it would bring them, and also trying to illustrate some of the weird bits that we've either discussed here or in various GitHub issues and stuff like that. But it was cool. It was interesting. And I highly recommend because spending the month of November for 1 week, t-shirts, palm
t-shirts
trees,
being the main benefit.
Beach. I mean, yeah, it's cool. You know, enjoying nice weather that time of the year. So yep. And since then, we've not been idle. So Ehcache 3 Milestone 4 was released yesterday. The main features of the Milestone 4 are OSGI readiness. So Ehcache 3 jar is now OSGI ready in the sense that it contains bundle information on its manifest, which also means that the necessary dependencies it has have been made OSGI ready, like OFIP and the management model stuff. We've improved the configuration capabilities. So for a long time, the only way you could pass us a cache loader writer, a serializer, a copier would be to give us a class name and potentially parameters. You can now give us an instance. The documentation has been extended to indicate what we will do with that instance. And also you have to know that unless your instance, or actually class, if you let us instantiate it, does not, unless your class does implement closable, we won't do anything with it. But if it does implement closable, when you close the cache, we will make sure you invoke the close method on that instance so that you can do resource cleanup if you have some to do. And of course, many more bug fixes.
One question from my understanding, since we discussed of that, and I'm not sure I want to ask this here, but so if I got an instance shared by multiple caches whose lifecycle is not tied, are we doing any reference counting tricks in order to...
No, if it implements closable, we will close it.
On the first close?
On the first, yes.
Okay, so only ever share an instance that is actually...
not closable.
Yeah, well... No, you could share a closable one. Yeah.
I don't like this. Don't like it.
How did that happen?
Because I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, but then that's what we do for the moment.
I know. It feels. We don't want to go into this now. It feels wrong to me.
Well, we can.
It feels like the job of the closing should be this. It feels like construct and close repair, and they should be done at the same place. And the thing was constructed by the user, so it should be closed by the user, and the cache should just consume.
Yeah, but that's what we say. Don't implement closable in that case. Oh, you mean if we know you give us an instance?
If you were given an instance, it doesn't matter what interface it exposes.
Okay.
You shouldn't call methods on it that are life cycling because you didn't create it.
Yeah. I guess I could almost say yes, but I would also like to say no. If I could write some code, well, for something, where you go like, use this, and you don't even keep a reference to the instance, right? You just type new foo, okay? And there is something to be done by this foo when it actually gets closed. So I sort of understand your purist perspective, right? But all of a sudden, you're sort of imposing the guy to keep a thing a reference to that and do all the.
Right. But in that situation, it's where maybe you might want to provide a static wrapper to give you a factory of a singleton. Well, not a singleton in the generic in the general sense, but a way of saying here's an instance, but I don't want to pass the instance because that means I'm life cycling. What I want to do is I want to give the cache a factory that always returns this instance.
So let us be very clear. This has been a subject of discussions a number of times. So please, dear users, take Ehcache 3 out for a spin and try to pass us smart copiers, serializers, cache loader writer in Spring, outside Spring, with Juice, with whatever, on the Java EE landscape, like using CDI for doing some stuff in your app and things, and let us know what works and what doesn't. Because that's really what's going to help us determine what makes sense or not.
And we're actually getting to the sort of last sprint here, right?
Yeah, we're now talking weeks before we just like go and freeze APIs for the 3.0 release.
Right. So I guess we'll do some of that ourselves, obviously, but yeah.
Yeah, but we can't fake a full application.
We are the world's worst proxies for our own users. Yes. Generally speaking, if your software does something useful, you're a bad proxy for your user.
Yeah, we will think and we will work around the issues just because we feel they're natural to be worked around because if we designed them that way, we had a reason.
Right. Well, your user's using your product because it does something useful for them, which implies that maybe certainly for a large number of them, implies that they wouldn't be able to do it on their own. So if they can't do it on their own, then you can. Then it implies that you're a different kind of developer to the guy that's using your software. That became very meta very quickly.
But so seriously, try it out. Let us know what you think. And including what Chris raised as, if you were the guy creating the instance, should you be the only one destroying it? It's fine. Being responsible for life cycling it.
It almost makes you wonder if there should be two ways of registering an instance.
Well, actually, I know we discussed these two approaches. I like the fact that you can achieve sort of both right now, right? Whether you wanted lifecycle yourself or by the thing, you can't just say that, except for the init. I understand it's not symmetric, but that's the whole point, right? It's if you want it symmetric, then use the factory or the class, the generic class thing, blah blah blah.
And so remember also, indeed, with the way Ehcache 3 works, you can always replace, instead of providing instances, you can provide a service that will be fully lifecycle with the cache manager, which is then responsible for providing the instances. And so that's also a way of getting that one level of abstraction higher, if you really want to be responsible for both the init and the close and everything. So that's also a way of working. So know that this is out. What we're looking at for the upcoming milestone is a few last features. One of them being the sizing the heap tier in bytes, like you can do in Ehcache 2x. And the rest is going to be mostly code cleanup, reorg, making sure. So one thing I followed quite a bit during the last conferences was everything around Jigsaw and the module system coming up in JDK 9. And I'd like Ehcache 3 to be a good citizen for that world, so that we can integrate in it the day it comes. And so in that context, it means we probably have to review the package organization so that we have proper public packages, and all the code that's not to be used by users be stored away in different packages than the public ones.
Which was initially the plan, but let's be honest, we screwed up here and there.
No, it's the plan. It's the plan because we have an API module, but we have indeed a number of concrete types that you end up using in configuration, and these are clearly not as clean with regards to isolation and packaging and stuff.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is that between now and the next release, expect some classes to have moved.
To change packages, to change packages. But of course, sorry, go ahead.
No, literally just package changes in that.
On that specific one, yes, but we also want to have a final look at all the configuration options and make sure they all make sense. Cool. And not make sense because we hope that's the case, but make sure that they all feel
consistent.
Cool.
And so the consistency of the config, both at the builder level and at the XML, will be looked at, and so that may again cause some changes at these levels, which would be then more than just a class moving from package to package. It could be more significant than that. And the rest would be functional and performance testing. And on the performance side, the goal would be at least to be as fast as Ehcache 2x, but clearly faster as well.
Yes. So, I'll repeat what I've said in other meetings that weren't public, or at least broadcast. I believe we should be faster than 2, and I would like the gap between us and any competitive product, whether it competes across the entire sphere of where we work, or whether it just competes with us on one niche use case in heap or heap and off heap or clustered or whatever. I would like to release M5 knowing why we're slower if we are slower. And being able to justify and say we're slower because of X, and we think this is an acceptable trade-off.
Yep. Yeah, because so
right, and we do know that there is, so to be, since it's on the issue tracker anyways, there is one thing that actually currently tends to make us look bad, which is the churn created by regular cache operations, so that if you're operating at a given threshold and really trashing the cache, which by the way is a very
artificial
way of testing the performance of your cache, because by very essence, this is not the problem you're trying to solve. Yes, so that actually you end up measuring like huge, if you measure end-to-end test time, well, you actually measure big time how the GC is doing, because we're creating too much churn, which is a well-known identified problem for a long time, but that we also even know how to aggressively fix if we decide to do it that way, which I'm not saying. But if that, at the cost of code maintainability of the code base. So this is why it got pushed so far out of the game. So today, if you run anything and you saw it maybe being a bit slow, try to bump your heap a little bit, and actually it may all be way better. All depending what GC you're running and what assumptions it made about how to split the heap.
Which makes me realize there is something that I thought of but did not discuss yet, but which could be on the fence of, it's not really new features, but like feature improvements / performance-oriented changes, which would be to bundle a number of default serializer for some of the well-known JDK types. So that, for example, when you're using long as a key, we could just directly write the long and not have to write the whole serialization long class information, and potentially have some kind of similar optimizations for strings and stuff like that. Which would
you mean automatic ones, so out of the box? You don't do anything,
of the box, so
and you just
it just pick this one up, and if, as usual, if you want to provide your own for whatever reason, you could do that, and it would just work by overriding the default ones we provide. So, because that would make, given the context we're operating under, we don't need the full flexibility of the serialization protocol. We just need...
So what you're talking about there, just for me to really understand what the proposal is all about, is to actually have certain types auto-registered with very compact, i.e. long, 64 bits.
Yes.
Yep.
Right. Yes. Exactly.
And so those registered, so if you would want to fall back to Java serialization because there is a reason for that, then you could just register the default Java serializer that we have out of the box with this type, and it would override and blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
But by default, it would try to be smarter.
Yep.
So that probably includes all the numbers, strings.
Yeah, there's some interesting questions here around... Oh, sorry.
Yeah, but numbers and strings at least. And we have to look if we want to have others.
Byte arrays as values, sure.
Yeah.
There's an interesting the reference.
I don't think we support it's on the per type, right? Or can you register a different serializer when the type is used as a key or as a value?
Yes, you can.
You can actually
define the serializer and the value serializer.
Yeah, at the cache.
No, but not as default. It's on the per cache then.
On the per cache, yes.
So at the level that we were talking about, you wouldn't be able to do it. So
it's an interesting hole there, isn't it? One of the things you maybe think about when you start saying specializing for, there's cunning things that we can do in off heap if the key definition is small enough, or the keys form is small enough, where we store them straight in the table.
Okay. Yeah, but that's
I'm thinking entity keys in particular.
Honestly, if we from it, okay, this is maybe too nitty-gritty details, but if we do the API aspect of it, for now, i.e. like register those special services, blah, 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 right?
Yep.
And the whole thing.
Yep.
And then only later in a dot, really, it doesn't even need to be in the minor, right?
You can make that kind
Do
of...
the magic at the off heap, it's fine, because it will...
because it's transparent.
But I find that the approach that Louis just wanted to use, and that I asked clarification on to be really sure that I understood what we were talking about, is actually an API aspect. So I would be willing to buy in a dot, in a minor, but certainly not in the dot. But so, anyways, so I think if we include that, we don't necessarily
you don't want,
like, the rest becomes optimizations.
Yep.
So you want them to be registered, and then the consequences they have internally can be tuned.
Right.
But the registration indeed means a change, and so that's not something we want to do in the dot release. Okay, so these were the different topics we wanted to cover. Again, that next milestone has no set date. It will be there when it's ready. But we're getting closer to the end.
Right. So that being the last milestone, if at all, and then we're certainly into RCs, right? So up until
for the unclustered.
For the 3.0 unclustered. So I guess the idea would be to release a clustered Ehcache as part of the 3.1 release.
Let's say that seems to be the most likely plan today.
Right. It wouldn't be in a 3.0.1, I guess.
No.
Okay.
No, but it also means that for the moment the plan is indeed that we would have an Ehcache released without clustering first. But again, nothing is set in stone either way. So that's the most likely thing today.
It would be a drop-in replacement anyways, right?
Yep.
Good.
Yep. So that's it then.
Yep.
All right. Well, good.
So see you next time, and next time we may have more discussion around clustering and stuff, because that's probably going to be the most.
Yeah. I guess.
Depends.
I guess we should probably have the next episode. Actually, lay out how we plan on making progress on the clustered stuff. Because not like, since stuff exists in different repos, different organization on GitHub and blah blah blah, probably giving an overview of this.
Where the code even is, yes, if you want to track progress, where it's happening.
And probably also where we want to start adding some documentation in the same way that we've done for Ehcache 3 as we move along, right?
Yep.
So I guess I'll anyways, probably doing some prep on that and doing a recap at some point would be good. If only to share this thing internally so that everybody knows what's going on.
Yes.
Alrighty. Well, see you next time.